San Francisco is about to get hit pretty hard by the property market because one of the most expensive things a city has to offer to investors isn't tech. It's not the beaches. It's not the restaurants. It's the property there. People spend billions of dollars in big cities every single year, and all they do is just buy property. Sometimes they buy property and just put it there and it's completely empty. Some people buy it for investment to rent out. And San Francisco used to be the place where if you want to do office real estate, it's by far the best way to do it because back in the old days, like 2019, the vacancies were less than 5%. In fact, if you own any sort of office in like downtown San Francisco, you're basically raking in the cash. And this is why so many of these buildings went for like millions and millions of dollars. But now you got discounts up to even 80% on some of the biggest and most prestigious San Francisco towers. So leasing offices are now taking longer in San Francisco. Landlords are waiting 12 to 15 months to finalize a deal, and many times the tenant gets many benefits like multiple months of rent and also extremely cheap prices. If you just go to LoopNet, for example, you do see a lot of these properties being listed for rent. Like for example, this one, it's around California Street. It's pretty close to Chinatown. It's pretty close to the coast, so it's pretty nice, right? It's somewhat tourist heavy. Well, I guess it used to be. $38 a square feet per year. Prices like these easily went for $90, $100, even $120 per square feet per year. And now even some of like the higher end buildings near like Spear Street, Stewart Street are all going for very cheap prices. Like this one, for example, $40, right? You also have more expensive ones like $59, which you get to be right next to like the Salesforce Tower. I mean, seriously, $59 per square feet per year. This was easily a unit that was like 120, 130. I've seen some like $170 per square feet per year around this location. So San Francisco real estate really has taken a massive tumble, right? And a lot of these landlords, they're absolutely getting clapped. And this is not a worldwide thing. It's a San Francisco thing because Singapore is pretty much not slowing down. The overall occupancy rates in Singapore's downtown business district is like 95%. And the 5% that's vacant in Singapore's office market are the ones that are like transitioning tenants or the ones that just have absurdly high rent or their units are just really run down. But you do see their office rents are rising like crazy. Whereas places like Hong Kong, for example, you have 15% of the most valuable space still being vacant. But 15% isn't the same thing as San Francisco's nearly 40% of the office space being completely empty. And we all say how bad Hong Kong, Manhattan, Chicago, and also Seattle's office real estate is. But their vacancies are around 12 to 22%, which is pretty terrible, all things considered. But like I said before, Oakland is like 38%. San Francisco is nearly 40%. So you have San Francisco's office market just completely getting taken out. And so many of these companies are leaving. And I'm sure, guys, you guys have probably heard stories of AI companies coming in. Absolutely. OpenAI is now moving into San Francisco. They're going to be taking over a lease. I think it's by Uber, but I'm not really sure. But it is a space of 435,000 square feet of office. So OpenAI is coming in. But like I said before, sure, OpenAI is coming in. But look at the numerous hundreds of big corporations and thousands of small startups all leaving San Francisco or downgrading their offices by 10, 20, sometimes even 70%. And if you look around, like, it's insane. You know, some cities are doing better than others. Obviously, Singapore is doing fantastic in the office and retail, right? And here in the States, Miami is doing incredibly well. Miami, to this day, as I'm speaking, they're still making office towers in Brickell. That's absolutely crazy. You're not going to be seeing Miami doing this if there's not that many companies moving in. There's so many companies moving in. You got guys like from Wall Street. Goldman Sachs is relocating some of the biggest offices from Manhattan to downtown Miami. And Miami is building office skyscrapers like crazy. And like I said before, Miami is defying the odds in the office space and the mall space. It's very popular. And this is what happens when you don't take care of a city and you just let it rot. Very similar to what's happening in San Francisco. And if you look at this, you got some of the fattest discounts happening in San Francisco, right? San Francisco's once booming commercial real estate market is now shaking under the post-pandemic era. At first, everyone who invested in San Francisco real estate, they all thought that office workers will come back. And absolutely, you got many cities around the world having office workers coming back. But here's the one thing. When office workers come back, that's great, right? Restaurants boost up and all this kind of stuff. But one thing is, if office workers won't come back, you at first in San Francisco, you got a few office workers sticking their noses into the city, and it was absolutely horrendous. You got homeless people everywhere, people doing crack, cocaine, fentanyl, there's needles, heroin. It's just a massive drug pit. You're seeing open air drug markets. It's not a livable space, and it's pretty dangerous overall. And I like San Francisco. This isn't a city I don't like. I like San Francisco. I've been here a few years ago. It's a fantastic city. Back in 2019, 2018, the nightlife in the middle of the night was insane. Streets are always packed. You always see tech workers, and making connections was actually a very fun thing to do because you have a lot of tech bros, you got a lot of finance bros, VC funds, and you just talk about work. It was actually a pretty good vibe, and I saw why people, when they open a tech company, they tend to move to San Francisco because the vibes were just so good. But now it's just so bad, right? So the first wave of people aren't going in. So when the first wave of people isn't going in, the second and third wave of office employees aren't going in either. And many tech companies are seeing this, and tech companies just relocating many of their offices just simply online or out of the city. Like Airbnb, one of the most loyal guys, and 888 Howard Street. This is supposed to be like a pretty good company in San Francisco that rents big because they build themselves in San Francisco by renting out like their first little room in like the CEO's apartment. But now they only own this. They used to own several offices around San Francisco. Now they only own this one next to Market Street. And if you look at this, 350 California Street was plummeted by 80%, right? 350 California Street isn't even a bad property. In fact, I could vouch for 350 that it's actually a high-end building too. It's a skyscraper class. It's pretty close to downtown. It's right next to a Transamerica Pyramid building. And it's going to be, which one of these buildings is it? I think it's this one, yeah. 350 right here. 350 California Street sold for 80% off. And this is not a bad building at all. This is such a good looking building. And there's even a little bit of retail space still being rented out. But you also have crazy investments like the Transamerica Pyramid building. This building here that's iconic, like the Empire State Building. They're doing a $1 billion bet that for offices, which is insane. So we're seeing some pretty crazy investments here, but you still see these multi-billion-dollar deals that started back a few years ago. And now many of these deals and buildings are dropping fiercely down in price. And the luxury market in San Francisco is completely busted. And even some of the high-end apartment complexes like Nema loses nearly half its value. Airbnb isn't really doing so well in San Francisco either. Even in places like Miami, we're seeing Airbnb properties absolutely getting busted up as well. So what can I say? I think San Francisco can recover, but the city hasn't really done much. There's still a big drug crisis, a huge homeless crisis, and it's been months and nothing really big has happened. This is what's really causing such a massive worry in this real estate market, because this is a multi-billion, even multi-trillion dollar property market. But now people are saying that many of the properties, residential included, are all dropping crazily down. And nobody's buying, which is a scary part. And nobody's renting. So thanks for watching, guys. Comment below, like, comment, subscribe for more real estate news.